What's up everyone? Last week we took some time and built major chords. This week we're going to do the same but with our minor chords. Let's get started. Now this video continues on the idea that you don't really need a lot of music theory to figure out how to build these chords. Now there are a few things that I explained last week that are going to be useful here today, and some of those things are the term triad, which simply means a three-note chord. We also talked about semitones, which are the notes that are directly next to each other. Now, one semitone is one half step, and two semitones is going to be a whole step. And if you remember, the major scale chord pattern is you find a note, you get a note two whole steps above it, and then another note a whole step and a half step above that, and you play those three notes together. Now, the minor chord pattern is very similar. We just flip that over. So you find a note, another note a whole step and a half step above that, and one more note two whole steps above that, and you have your minor chord. But let's take some examples. Let's see it in action. So here's a quick recap from last week. Now we have all of our notes, all 12 notes, and these are semitones. The notes next to each other are half steps, and two semitones apart are whole steps. We have our examples from last week, which we did, and let's look at the minor chord pattern. Now this pattern, we actually are going to flip the major chord pattern around, so our whole step and half step comes between the first two notes, and our two whole steps come between the second two notes. So that's kind of cool. Now let's see what happens when we try to figure out some chords. So C minor, we're going to start on C and find a note a whole step and a half step above it, which is E flat, and then two whole steps above that, which is G. So that's kind of cool. C and G stay the same, but E flat is the different note. Now what happens with G minor? So we find G, a whole step and a half step above that, and we get B flat, and then two whole steps above that, we get D. Cool, all right, the middle note is the one that's different again. How about D minor? We start with D, then we find F, and two whole steps above that is A. All right, that's cool, still the middle note that's different. A minor, A, C, and E. Still the middle note, so we're seeing a pattern here. And B flat minor was our last example. We get B flat, whole step and a half step above that, we get D flat, and then two whole steps above that, we get F. So in both of these examples, in all of these examples really, the major chord, the middle note, is different from the middle note in the minor chords. So once again, how does this relate to our instruments? Well, we'll take the C example again, C minor, and we'll find all the C's, E flats, and G's on the neck. So we have one here, C, E flat, G, or E flat, G, C, or even G, C, E flat. We can double some of the notes and use more strings. For example, this chord here, C, G, C, E flat, G, or E flat, C, G, C, C, G, C, E flat, G, C. Now all of these shapes, just like the chords themselves, they only have that one note difference, that half step difference in the middle note. You can just find the E flats and move them up one fret and get your major chord, which is awesome. You can do that for all of these. Now usually when major and minor chords are being taught, people will say major chords are the happy ones, minor chords are the sad ones. And while emotionally that could be true, when you hear songs with major chords you feel a little bit more uplifted and happy, don't feel boxed into just those emotions with these particular chords. There are plenty of songs that do the opposite, you know, happy lyrics with minor chords and sad lyrics with major chords. Like Radiohead's Creep. That entire time, the song is G major, B major, C major, and C minor. 3 out of those 4 chords are major, and yet that song has a really weird and creepy vibe to it. Well, that's it for today's video. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give the video a like if you enjoyed this content, and if you want to see something different, let me know in the comments. I'll see you all next week.